Yeah, sure. Guys, thank you everybody for joining. We have a bunch of national and regional newspapers and websites from around the UK that are set to enjoy all the historic Royal Albert Hall festivities coming up in London for the United Kingdom Championship Tournament. So I'll turn it over now to Paul to give some opening remarks, and then again, guys, I will go down the list, and if you can just ask a question and a follow-up, and then we'll get through as many people as we can. So you can go ahead, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank all of you for being a part of this today, and being excited about WWE and returning to Royal Albert Hall and this UK Championship Tournament. It's a very exciting time for us, and I'm really excited about these events, June 18th and 19th. Royal Albert Hall is such a historic venue. The look, the feel, just everything that's gone down there historically. It's kind of the place, like I wrestled there in '95, and the last show that was there, wrestling show that was there, and man, the aura in that place is incredible. It's just got an ambiance to it that it's tough to say. You remember your first time at Madison Square Garden, you remember walking out at Royal Albert Hall, and that's what the excitement of this event was. It's why I was, so anxious to put this event out there, even though it's on a Monday and a Tuesday, and it kind of prevents us from doing live television there in a way. The event itself, the venue is so meaningful that I really wanted to do these events, and I'm excited that we get the opportunity to be back there. These 2 days will be extremely exciting. The UK is chock full of talent, and we have the best of the best coming in, and as that tournament comes to a close on Monday, that winner will then go on to Tuesday to face the UK champion Pete Dunne for the UK Championship. We will have a lot of other matches on the card. NXT Women's Championship will be defended against the winner of a match the night before. We will also have the North American Championship being defended and the NXT Tag Team Championships being defended. And a special tag match, we will have Aleister Black and Ricochet teaming up in a dream match against Velveteen Dream and EC3 on that second night. It will be a historic night. On that first night, we will also have Mustache Mountain, Trent Seven, Tyler Bate, plus UK champion Pete Dunne in a six-man tag against the Undisputed Era from NXT. So, it will be an epic 2 nights of wrestling from Royal Albert Hall. So with that, I'm going to open it up to questions, and let's get going.
Perfect. Thank you. Again, we're going to start with Sandu at ESPN. Sandu, you can go ahead.
Thanks. Hi, Paul. We want to start off with your recent hiring of Johnny Saint as the new, GM of the WWE UK brand. What was, I suppose, the recruitment process like for you guys, and what was it about Johnny that made you guys give him that position?
Well, so Johnny, this isn't the first time that we work with Johnny. Johnny, obviously a legend in the UK and in wrestling there. Probably a history and a legacy second to none. So obviously we are very aware of him. He's friends with William Regal. Over the years, obviously very aware of him. When we were there in Blackpool a little over a year ago, Johnny was there. He's done various things with us. When we were in London for the London event that NXT did, he was there. He then came in and did a stint at the Performance Center for us, where he came in as a guest coach and was working out of the Performance Center on a daily basis and going on the road with our talent and working with them. His wealth of knowledge, Johnny's one of those guys forgotten more about the business than most guys will ever know, and his experience and his just level of professionalism and everything, it was awesome to have him around. Just got to a point in time, he was in Orlando, and he was just getting a little homesick, and he wanted to go back, and he's up there in age and wanted to go back, and I think he wanted to see his girlfriend and be home, so he left. I don't remember how long he was with us, maybe 6 months, maybe more. And he went back home, and we kind of said, look, hey, we want to stay in touch, though, and use it for things, and we've kind of done little stuff with him here and there, stayed in touch, and when this came about, and we knew we were moving forward with these events and kind of taking further steps with the UK brand, Johnny was my first choice to be the GM. We reached out to him and asked him if he would like to oversee this, and luckily for us, he said yes. So thrilled to have him. Like I said, a legacy second to none, and he has a wealth of knowledge that he will help everybody that he comes into contact with.
And as a follow-up, I guess, what is on his plate? What will be his role, responsibility, and what are you hoping he can achieve for you, say, over the next 12 months here in the UK?
So I think for us, on Johnny's plate, obviously he will be a sort of a figure within the show, an authority figure within the show, to help keep things running up and up. He will match make, and he will also, on a behind-the-scenes standpoint, be a wonderful kind of mentor and guide for these talent. The UK being a slightly different market, and look, we have a handle on that through the people that work with us, whether that be William Regal or Johnny Moss, or all the UK people that we have working with us. It's just another level of experience and of what works in that market that Johnny can bring to the table. His ability to take the UK style, that more technical style, and be able to understand how those matchups will work best. That will kind of be his forte for us, I think, is kind of in that matchmaking capability.
Brilliant, thank you.
Robbie Brookside is the name that I was completely having a whiff on there for a second. I don't know why. I'm one of the biggest cogs in our wheel, so...
We're going to move over to Costas at Daily Express.
Hi, Paul. Nice to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you.
As you said, we're going to see a lot of British talent pretty soon, and obviously there's a lot of British talent going on in the main roster as well. Which one or which ones of those British superstars could you see becoming the next WWE champion?
Well, it's hard to say that. I see a lot of talent there, but when I see a guy like, obviously, that stands out to me the most is Pete Dunne. I think his ability to take a style from years ago and a kind of a classic wrestling sense and a joint manipulation sense, and bring that classic UK style back but to do it in a modern form where he kind of blends the two, his ability to be comfortable in what he says and what he does, all of that, and his passion for this, his growth in this. He's one of those guys that just eats, sleeps, breathes it, and is constantly learning. He's like a sponge every time I see him, and that to me is impressive. So, if I had to pick one guy, it would be Pete, but there's a lot of talent out there, and I hate putting pins on guys and saying like this is the guy, because I feel like sometimes that's the worst thing you can do to somebody. But there's a lot of talent that I feel could be the next one to make it up to that main roster and really make an impact.
And obviously this is a very exciting week, but it's also a very, very exciting time of year, as every summer fans get excited about SummerSlam. And rumors suggest that John Cena will come back for this year's pay-per-view. When should we expect Cena to return, and is a Taker rematch possible?
I think you'd have to ask that of John Cena. To be honest, I don't know. John has a very busy schedule and a very active, apparently, social life right now going on. John has greatly earned the position that he is in. He's working on some other projects, and he's kind of doing things here and there with WWE. Always still a part of us. John is WWE to his core, and what he decides to do from a decides to step into the ring again, and with who, that will be on John Cena. So I really don't have an answer for that question for you.
Thank you. Great. We'll move over to Neil Docking at the Daily Mirror. Go ahead, Neil.
Hey, Neil.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
Guys, I'm sorry, just real quick, just make sure we stay on topic about the UK tournament and NXT. Thanks.
Hey, Neil.
Hi, you're right. Yeah, just wanted to ask, the standard of matches at Download this year was higher than ever before, in my opinion. It was great to see the UK talent show their ability to work at that level. Can you tell us about the feedback you received, from your guys on the ground, whether you get kind of like performance or scouting reports, what they had to tell you?
Yeah, I get reports on every single show and every single match that we do. That's kind of part of the system. We all do, and to be able to give guidance and coach. If we're not coaching and we're not teaching, then we're not doing anything. So we get that report on kind of everything we do. I did get very positive reports this year. This is believe the third year we've been at Download, and I want that show to be better every time we go there. I want all the shows to be better. If we go to London, we do a show. The next time we go back, I want the show to be better. I want the talent to be better. I want everybody to improve. That's the whole point of doing this, is to get better every day. So I'm excited that I think Download has become kind of this fun staple event for us. The talent love it. It's a great experience for them. It's I do truly believe, my opinion, that a lot of fans go for the NXT part of Download. The fans that are there. The tent is full at every session we do. They're standing room only, and they're packed outside of the event, watching through the tent, and it's a wonderful experience for everybody, and it's one of my favorite kind of runs of the year. I think talent really enjoy it. Plus, when they're done working for the day, they got to go watch Guns N' Roses. So how can that be bad?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what I did too. Well, I wanted to say, there were some great matches from talent who didn't progress in the WWE UK tournament as well. For example, Ligero and Velveteen Dream had an outstanding match. Is there an intention to keep showcasing and nurturing the talent who won't necessarily be at Royal Albert Hall?
Oh, absolutely. And this is the intent. Hopefully we'll have some announcements soon, but the intent is to continue to move forward with this brand. And, all of those talent, when you do a tournament, somebody got to win, somebody's got to lose, right? And you kind of move forward. But I'm not looking at the wins and the losses. I'm looking at the performances and who does what, and do they shine? Do they take advantage of that opportunity? Sometimes I'm of the opinion that the guy that loses sometimes is really the guy that wins. I was impressed by a lot of people. When I say we get feedback, I also get video footage. And I've seen the majority of the matches from Download, or at least highlights. Really impressed with a lot of talent. So, when it comes to the UK and that brand and the opportunity that we have in front of us, it's a very bright future in the UK.
All right, cool. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll move over to Donna, the Irish Mirror. Go ahead, Donna.
Hey, how's it going? I wanted to ask, I know you're probably looking at so many different pieces of video footage and stuff, but specifically, Jordan Devlin is a guy who competed last year. He obviously made it through the first round and lost to Tyler Bate, and you said you watched some video of the matches. Is there anything, he's been a guy who's been consistently improving throughout the year. He's our Irish representative. What do you make of his performances over the last year?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Jordan Devlin. He was one of the guys that stuck out the most. I've seen, I've seen clips of Jordan Devlin working throughout the year for various promotions that we have alliance with, OTT and different promotions throughout, that I've seen footage of him on and been impressed. As you said, he's progressed throughout the year. I was really impressed with him at Download. Thought he did a phenomenal job. And, it's wonderful for me to see change in guys as you work with them and you progress with them, and you hopefully, we're continuing to connect with these guys and give them feedback, whether direct or whether through others, whether we're giving it directly to them or the promotion that they're working for and saying, hey, we saw this show, try to work on this with this guy, and giving them that feedback. So, to see them progress and grow as performers and know that you have that kind of sitting in front of you, it's really great, and I expect big things from him over the years.
Obviously, we saw Pete Dunne involved on Monday Night Raw back in November. Do you feel like you could, mix these guys? Because there tends to be kind of a bit of a split between the 205 Live guys and the main roster guys, and then the UK guys are on a separate thing entirely. Could we see more of a mixture between, for example, a lot of Irish people would love to see Jordan Devlin step in that ring with Finn Balor?
Yeah, look, I think the goal is certainly over time, right? Do I want to expose guys to things sometimes that they're not ready for? No. When they're ready, then we make that call. I see and what you're getting at is sort of kind of what is the aggregator of those brands. To me, it would be much more NXT in the future than it will be Raw and SmackDown, because I just think it's a much more natural progression. The ability to do that is better with NXT because the ability to travel, because of how we tape and record the travel schedule, it can be a bit more manipulated, so to speak, and we can make the trips to the UK and we can make the trips to other places. I think what you'll see is over time NXT kind of being the aggregator for the 205s, for the UK talent, and for any other places that we begin to see kind of localized brands beginning to pop up. I think you'll see NXT be that aggregator and be that sort of kind of oversight of territories, so to speak.
Thank you.
Great, we'll move over to Gary at the Sun. Go ahead, Gary.
Hi, Paul. Thanks for joining us tonight. You've mentioned there about, some of the British promotions. What is it that, I suppose, not fair to traffic it, but what made you really decide to push on and, and go in search of this British talent to bring to WWE? What is it that you love about and, attracts you to the British talent compared to anywhere else in the world?
Well, I think looking at it, there's a lot of talent all over the world that are great, right? You can look at various pockets of talent in markets in different places and say, wow, there's some really good talent here, some really good talent there. UK just had a wealth of it. I think you could see that as the scene was beginning to boil up. Is giving these guys. It's one thing if there's a massive scene boiling up in the UK and in Europe and becoming very popular and guys are getting going and all that, but then what happens to it next? This is my theme music. Sorry about that. Can everybody still hear me?
I can, yeah. Yep.
All right, yeah. Sorry, my theme music kicked in there for a minute. The intent to go to a market that has a lot of talent like that is to be able to then come in there and help that talent grow, get to the next level, and give them that opportunity, a pathway. I'll go back to a conversation I had with Finn Balor years ago before he came in, where he just thought, like many, there's no possible way for me to ever get to WWE. That's a pipe dream. I can't do it. I want to make that possible for everybody. If you're talented, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. If you're talented and a big star and you have the opportunity to work for the biggest promotion in the world, I want you to be able to take that opportunity. So I would like to put that pipeline down for everybody, and that's going where the talent is and giving them that opportunity, and that's what we did in the UK.
Okay, brilliant. And also, can you see, especially with perhaps the NXT brand, not WWE, the main roster in the future, can you ever see it working with any, possibly the UK companies with a cross-promoted event, or even on an international level, something like New Japan?
Look, I think we're open to doing things with anybody or anything. I think we've, in the UK, we've done stuff with Progress. We have an alliance with them. We have a situation with ICW out of Scotland with Mark Dallas. Two very well-run. What I like about them, two very well-run, very respected promotions, and they do good business. But more importantly, are working with talent. They're cultivating talent. They're not just exploiting talent and saying, "Hey, we're going to grab these guys and do a show with them." They're teaching talent, and they're trying to make talent better. To me, that's what this is all about. Is there opportunity for cross-promotional events or opportunities? Absolutely, with the right things. I mean, it's just it's a blank slate, but I'm open to just about anything if the right situation shows itself.
Cool, thank you.
Thanks. We'll move over to Jefferson and Sky.
Hi Paul, how are you?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm alright, thanks. I'm alright. We had a conference call recently with Shawn Michaels, obviously, who's coming over here for the event next week. He sort of said he didn't really know what the plans were for him at the event, but that he was going to make the most of it. I'm not really sure what he means by that, but what do you interpret him to mean by that, and what are the plans for Shawn?
Look, even if I told Shawn what the plans were, he would say, "I don't know what the plans are." That's just how it works. Yeah. He said, I didn't know what the plan was. I just went with it. So, the intent is bringing Shawn over is to try to. I'll say it this way, Shawn wanted to come over. Shawn wanted to be a part of this. He's engaged so much with this. It's one of the really cool things right now is one, because he's, my buddy, and we've been working together for so long creatively. We have that kind of deal with each other where we know what each other's thinking, so it works out great. But, when the UK stuff came up of going to Royal Albert Hall, he called me up and was like, "Hey, dude, I want to go." And I'm all in for it, so it's cool. And we set it up, and then I just said, "Hey, well, if you're going to be there, let's get you involved and do something and be a part of it." And I'm not 100% sure what that is. I'm sure it'll be pretty good, and I'm sure he'll do something that's cool. But I think for fans of the UK, just knowing Shawn Michaels is going to be there, he hasn't been there in that venue. I think he was might have been on the same card I was on in like '95 or something. As the last time he was there, but it's a historical moment, and for us, it's something we wouldn't miss. So just us being a part of it from that standpoint is meaningful to us. What we do when we get there, we'll figure it out.
Cool. Also on that call, he did mention that he could be tempted to come back for a one-off match. I'm sure you've had conversations about this before with him in private many times, but is there anything you can tell us in public about what your conversations may have been with him and sort of what your advice to him would be on that?
One thing I know about Shawn is if you want to know the answer on something, you got to ask Shawn directly. What he is thinking and what he's doing. He's gone back and forth on this a million times. I think being involved with the Performance Center, NXT, there's something about the young guys being hungry. When I say guys, I always mean guys and girls. It's habit, but the young talent, they're hungry, and there's this drive and desire. It's just different, and it reinvigorates. Everybody says it that comes down there, especially guys that have been in the business a long time, man. Being around them, it just relights your fire of the passion you had for this when you first started and all that stuff, and you just get re-engaged. I think is where he is. I think it makes him think differently about it. If you want the answer of what he's thinking, you'd have to ask him. Have I spoken to him about it? Have we talked about it privately? Yes, but there's a reason why they call those private conversations.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for your time and for your help.
Thanks. We'll move over to Josh at Sport Bible. Go ahead, Josh.
I just wanted to ask you about the roster you've assembled for this tournament, and whether or not any of the new guys have impressed you.
A lot of the new guys have impressed me, as have some of the women that will be appearing that night. To me, there were a lot of guys when we went over there the first time. Matchups are kind of, to me, styles make fights. You always hear that, and matchups, and so when you're putting these things together, it's not about like, oh well, this guy's better, put him on the show, right? It's all the matchups matchups and the styles and who's available to you in that time and who can make the dates and everything else. So there were a lot of talent on this that we looked at the first time, and I would have loved to have had a part of it then, and weren't available or for whatever reason couldn't make the show, so we went in different directions. There's some talent I've seen grow since then. I'm excited that they've come up, and then there's some talent. Somebody asked me about Jordan Devlin earlier, like a Jordan Devlin who, excited about bringing him the first time, way more excited about having him here this time. He's just improved so much since that time when we did it the last time. As much as some of the talent that were in the first tournament that we didn't include in this tournament, but will still be a part of the UK going forward, guys like Sam Gradwell and people like that, Joe Connors and James Drake and just different people that have been a part of this, but whether they're involved in this one or not, still a big part of it. But when you come down the line, there's some different people in this one that have kind of different from what we had in the first tournament, the Dave Mastiffs and the Joe Coffeys and the Mark Coffeys, and that's a different dynamic of big and different style. You have the Ligeros and people that have that sort of style. It's just a lot different about this one. Characters, Flash Morgan Webster, you know what I mean? There's just something different about this one, and I really like that it has a different feel to it. And then when you talk about the women and some of the women that will be there, the Tony Storms and people like that, there's a wealth of talent there that we can bring in that are impressive and that we can work through and help, as they're working through the UK, help get them to that next level and bring up the line, NXT and main roster and on and on.
Yeah, and just secondly, would the appointment of Johnny Saint as GM suggest that we are slightly closer to that weekly UK show, or is it still quite far away?
No, like as I said earlier, hopefully we'll have some announcements to make soon. I don't, announcing a GM of nothing would seem silly. So
yeah,
Johnny Saint's a GM. So there you go. But I think we're a lot closer than we were. There's a lot of T's to cross and I's to dot to make things happen, and it's just the way it is. And but just know that on our part, we're working diligently at it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for your time, and all the best for the shows next week.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh. We'll move over to Will at Talk Sport. You can go ahead, Will.
Hey, Paul. How's it going?
Hey, Will.
First of all, just wanted to ask, you were talking about the way that certain talent have come through and impressed you there over the new talent coming in, etc. Can you just shed a bit of light on the process of how you found the new guys and how you might go about finding other talent when the brand hopefully expands in the future?
Well, it's kind of a never-ending process of keeping an eye on talent. We have a large team here that my recruiting team and my talent development team here at WWE are constantly doing. William Regal is a huge part of that, right? So there's pretty much, if you're putting on a pair of boots and tights and doing this somewhere in the world, I don't want to say we know everybody, but we probably heard and have a little bit of a handle on it. In markets like the UK or where things are a bit more hot and a bit more kind of developed, we have a pretty good handle on all of that. So we're constantly keeping an eye on people, and these are talent that we want to work with. Look, these are talent that we think have a bright future, and they're improving rapidly. These are talent that we're looking at working with in the very, very soon. These are talent that we feel like, hey, really has a lot of potential, but maybe would be ready for us in some way a year down the road from now, and will help guide them to, if they're not already there, a Progress or an ICW or somebody like that, right, to give them that exposure and help them along the way. But we're always constantly looking at all the promotions and everything else that's out there and the talent that are out there. So, it's a constant process. And then obviously we're looking at athletes that want to be involved as well.
was going to say, I can tell you Alistair Black put you over massively at Download and said that there's not a wrestler in the world you don't know, and you have your ear to the ground. So he certainly believes that you're omnipresent. What about the women's side of this tournament coming up this week? Because the likes of Ginny, Tony Storm, these are people who we see on the UK Indies on a regular basis. Outside of this plan for the 2 days, is there a plan for a women's part of this UK division, and how far along is that?
Yeah, there is, and it's something that we're working on. At the same point in time, we're kind of working on that. We're sort of in conjunction working on the Mae Young Classic here in the U.S., and it's kind of a combo that is a great thing, and I feel like with the UK show, as it moves forward, the UK championship, the show itself, as that begins to move forward, will kind of be in the realm of the Mae Young Classic starting to take place, and as that goes down, that's going to give us a really keen insight into how we want to position not only women, you know, the women's division within NXT and the women's division itself within the UK and all of it, right? The Mae Young Classic we did last year, it just gives you exposure to a lot of women. The women are a little bit tougher sometimes for us to have a great handle on because they don't work as often and they don't get the amount of work that the guys do. So you don't get as many shots at seeing them in a competitive manner with other women to where you'd like to be able to see to really understand their skill level and what needs to be worked on, right? So the Mae Young Classic for us allows us to bring these women and work with them over the course of a few days and over a period of time where we really get to know them better and understand their skill sets and everything else, and that will help us to determine where we want to land.
Brilliant, thank you, Paul. Looking forward to next week.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll move over to Oliver.
Hi, Paul. So NXT is flying at the moment, and the wrestling business as a whole has kind of been thriving over the past couple of years, with like many different promotions growing. So do you think NXT's rise has had anything to do with how the indies have enjoyed a resurgence?
Yeah, I think the business in general, when it's good, you know, when there's a lot happening, there's excitement across the board. You know, also the ability for fans to catch what's out there in a much easier way, right? The internet, social media, everything about it has made it to where you can catch a promotion from the UK if you live in the US. You can catch a promotion from Australia if you live in the US. You can see all these different things, or at least see clips of them, or bits and pieces of them. And that helps as well. But I certainly do think that NXT has helped that process along. It helps to expose talent at a bigger level. It helps expose where they came from in that manner as well. And I think that then puts more eyeballs on those places. So, you know, it's my desire to help those places flourish as well, because it just helps us find better and better talent. And the better talent that are out there, then that's good for everybody.
Cool. And just to follow that up, so how proud are you of creating sort of original ideas in NXT and working with people like Velveteen Dream compared to working with those that have established names and gimmicks already?
It's great. You know, I love that whole process. It's part of what I like about it. You know, to me, one of the most fun parts of doing this, obviously creating all of it, but like, you know, the matches and the other stuff. But when you get to bring in a character like when Fergal came in, and just go, okay, like blank slate, what do we want to do here? And just starting with something new and creating this demon and creating all this other stuff and just really letting that boil out and then seeing where you can take that. Same thing with Bobby Roode, you know, just kind of reestablishing what that is, but doing it in a way totally different from what he's done before. Then taking a Velveteen Dream and, you know, working with a talent like that, like, I'll tell you, a lot of that's just him, you know, but like that's us working with him to try to find what is right for him. working with all talent, working with Lars Sullivan to find his voice and his personality. What does he want to be, and what does he want to go to? Even Aleister Black, just tweaks and nuances. So even the things that come in that have been something someplace else that you want to build on, if they have something that's working for them and you want to build on, because sometimes it's right? Here's kind of what they've been doing, and it's the right thing for them, and you feel like it has legs, so you go with it. Other things, it's let's start over, and it depends on the talent too, what they want to do. Some talent want to get stuck in the, hey, this is what I've done and it's worked, and I want to get stuck in it. Other talent, and you have to help them decide whether that's the right thing or the wrong thing. Other talent see the opportunity to come into something like NXT and go, you know what the best part is? It's a blank slate. I can start over. This is not what I was doing over here anymore. I have an opportunity to start fresh. And that's cool too.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thanks. We'll move over to Morgan at Radio Cardiff.
Hi, Paul. Nice to talk to you.
Same.
So one thing I want to talk to you about is, of course, since the first United Kingdom tournament back in 2017, I think a lot of fans had question marks about this UK division and where it was going to go. What's the main differences between that one now and this at Royal Albert Hall? And do you see this as a perfect reboot and rebrand of the UK division?
I do. It's a year and a half later, and I think we have a better handle on it. I think we're much closer to making this a reality. There's a lot of components to this. When you talk about Raw, SmackDown, NXT, all the things that we have going on and are doing at once, they all interconnect in some way. You change one piece, it's a domino, right, effect. Like they all fall, and you have to look at everything in a whole. The intent has never changed. The intent to do what we wanted to do has never changed. It just took us some time through our other deals that we have with our partners, through everything else, to work through all of that to get us into a place where we're pretty close to being able to go where we want to go with it. Hopefully, like I said, we'll have some announcements on that soon. And, I'm excited about it this time. It's part of the reason why I wanted to go to Royal Albert Hall. I felt like it was the right venue to kind of relaunch.
Perfect. And with that, of course, the United Kingdom Championship in itself has been quite a unique one in WWE, with it seeing it defended on various different platforms from NXT and even independent promotions here in the UK. What do you is the really future of that title? Where do you see it? And are you kind of glad in retrospect that you've been able to have a championship like this and actually defend it outside of the company?
I do. I like that. I love the opportunity, as you see with the UK title. You'll see it now with the North American title. For that to be able to go other places, do some things, shed some light on some other places that could use that light, that we believe in and that we believe are helping talent. The opportunity is great, and as you begin to create those opportunities in other locations around the globe, you're kind of building something special. And I think for a UK champion that can, one night be defended. I don't believe that it's a UK title, so it's got to be defended in the UK and only won by a UK guy. I don't believe that. I believe it's a title that represents a region. I believe it should stay there for most of that time and be representative of that area most of the time. But for it to be able to travel outside and defend that UK title in New York, or defend that title in India, or defend that title in Mexico, I think that's great. I think same with the North American title, and for that matter, same with the NXT title.
Perfect. Cheers, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks. Move over to James.
Hi there, Paul. Just a couple of questions for you. The first one, seeing the connection between WWE and Progress and ICW, do you think it would be possible that we get some sort of materials from them on the WWE network? Not necessarily a full show, but maybe like clips or certain matches.
Yeah, I think when the time is right, probably, those are things that you can look forward to probably in the future. Maybe network's a little bit out of my day to day, but if I had to speculate on that, I would say sure. It's I think when there's quality products out there, We want to give that exposure in a way that's meaningful for everybody. So I think if that's something that can be done down the line, I'm sure they're looking at it.
Okay, awesome. And just to follow up on this, for the at the show at the Royal Albert Hall, who do you think you could see stealing the entire show, similar to how Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate stole the show at the NXT Takeover?
Boy, that's a tough one, because I think that the expectations have changed. You've got a lot of talent on there that are just amazing talent, but you also have some talent on there that will be not necessarily competing in the tournament, but that will be there that night. So, you will have Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, all those guys competing on that show. So when you're looking at the overall show, that's kind of a grab bag, but there's a lot of talent on here. I mentioned some of them before, but like a Zach Gibson, that to me just brings a lot to the table. I mentioned Joe and Mark Coffey. That bring, something completely different, but it's they do have an opportunity to, because they are bringing something totally different, to bring it in a way that just could steal the show. You've got like a Travis Banks. You've got Dave Mastiff. There's just a lot of guys. Amir Jordan. These are all guys that could at any point in time steal the show. And then you have some of the guys that as you know, will always come out of nowhere and kind of shock you on the end of these things, where you think, man, I thought that guy would do okay, but I never thought he'd do that. So I'm really excited for this, and I think it's one of the bits and pieces that I like about it the most, is kind of seeing who will rise to the occasion. I know all these guys have a lot of experience, but I heard it brought up to me this week when we were all they were all at Download Festival and guys were working for us there. The amount of nerves that were there. It's a huge opportunity for guys. So that kind of pressure, some people cave into it, some people thrive in it, and so it to me is always, that's a fascinating part, is seeing who steps up, and when you're done, you're able to look at them and go like, wow, I didn't expect that out of this guy, but man, he really rose to the occasion and showed me something I didn't know he had. I'm looking forward to that part of it.
All right, thank you, and looking forward to the UK tournament.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. We only have a couple left, so Jack, if you want to get one question in, and then we can get Andy a question in after, because I know Paul has to run.
Okay, hey Paul, how's it going?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. I just wanted to ask a question about kind of the regional nature of some of the guys in the UK Championship tournament. So, for example, Zach Gibson, who, as a fan, I find him one of the funniest and most, easily detestable guys in the whole of the UK. But how do you think that will translate to a more global audience? Obviously, a lot of his persona has to do with the fact that he's from Liverpool. Is the aim to change him a little bit, or do you just want to keep him purely the same and just see how that comes across on a bigger platform?
Well, you guys just don't like Liverpool people. What is that? So it's the interesting thing, right? In that when you are performing in front of a couple hundred people in a local setting, certain things resonate, and then you move up to a larger venue and to a larger platform with people watching from a much more varied region, and what you do has to change. I think you see that even when talent come up from NXT sometimes, something that might work on that show doesn't necessarily translate into Raw or SmackDown, or vice versa. Talent that maybe weren't the absolute highlight of NXT, but their character, their persona, their style fits better to Raw or SmackDown, and they thrive. It's a constant balance that you have to find. I think, to your point, there will be some things of Zach that will stay the same, and then I think there are some things that will naturally morph, because he will need to grow. to the larger audience. But that will be organic as it takes place, and I think you'll see that with everybody. Same with like a Flash Morgan Webster, that a guy that has a kind of a certain thing that works for him where he is. But that'll have to morph and change and grow. Not wholesale, just be somebody different, but morph and change to grow to the environment that he's in. But that's where it becomes the who will rise to that occasion, and who will not.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, and we'll go ahead and close with Andy. You can go ahead.
Hi, Paul. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. As is the last question, I'll put you on the spot a little bit. Who do you personally believe is the best British wrestler of all time, and why?
Wow, best British wrestler of all time. Man, that's a really that's a really tough question, because you certain styles that work in certain regions, and then there's certain guys that take that style and bring it other places. When you talk about different performers over the years, whether that's somebody in the style of a Johnny Saint, or you go back and you go like, well, and then is it the more famous, the Big Daddies, right, or William Regal, who is arguably the guy that was able to take that style and then transition it to characters and everything else, and sort of go everywhere and do everything with everybody. You get the prolific skills of Davey Boy Smith or Dynamite Kid. You get the antics of an Adrian Street, who goes other places and does those things incredibly well. Man, I wouldn't want to put that on one person. I really wouldn't. I'm impressed with a lot of the talent that come out of there. They're almost always, out of the UK, talent that come out of there almost always impeccably trained. I mean, I know that's changed over the years with styles and everything, but it's one of the things that I notice a lot, is that the majority of talent that come out of there, the fundamentals are very, very sound, and I love that. But there are too many great guys to say this is the all-time best,
Very nice. That's absolutely great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. That concludes today. Paul, thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate it. I look forward to catching everybody. Hopefully you'll all be there at Royal Albert Hall. I can tell you, without doubt, this tournament is going to be awesome. It'll be 2 incredible nights. If you don't have your tickets for Royal Albert Hall, you should. And I look forward to the next level of announcements that'll be coming down the pike, and having these conversations some more. So thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul.